What do you get when you play tug of war with a pig?
What?
Pulled pork.
That was a good one.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to Hungry Squared Podcast, where the brain and belly meet. Hi, I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking about school lunch. Dun, dun, dun.
Yum.
Let's talk about it.
Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
Hey, Sharon, how's your week been?
It's been great.
Was it? Did you eat anything fun or not awesome or?
Oh, man. So this week I have been on the road a bit for work, and I found myself having nothing to eat, but I needed to go get gas. So I went to the gas station.
Wait a second. Are you telling me that you had gas station food and that was your new and noteworthy thing you ate?
I'm going to tell you something marvelous.
What?
Marvelous. So, unbeknownst to me, I'm planning on getting like some popcorn or something gross because it's the gas station.
Right.
And had a bottle of water in the car, so I just needed something to eat. So I'm perusing the aisles and trying to decide if I want some M&Ms, some pretzels, or some popcorn. And then I see it.
What?
These chips.
Chips?
Chips. These awesome chips. They're Ruffles, and they're called all-dressed chips.
What?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen those before. What are they? What?
I double-fisted it and grabbed 2 bags, and I ran to the counter because I thought I was dreaming. I needed to pinch myself, but I had these 2 bags of chips in both hands, so I couldn't. And I exclaimed to the cashier, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have Canadian chips.
Wait, they're Canadian?
Yeah. They originated or whatever for production in Canada. So I haven't had these chips in honestly 20 years.
I was going to ask, how in the world did you have these Canadian chips?
So one of my very first roommates when I moved out in college, she was from Ottawa, and her mom used to send us Canadian goodies. She would send us care packages. So I'm dating myself by saying it was 20 years ago that I ate this. But still, she would send us these care packages of Canadian junk food, basically. And this is some of the best Canadian junk food you can have.
Okay, so what makes these chips so different?
So they have 3 of the tastes. You've got salt, sweet, and the umami, which is the savory flavor.
Okay.
So it's kind of like salt and vinegar, barbecue, and a little bit of sour cream and onion thrown in there because they do make it kind of smooth.
Okay, well, that's
why they call it all dressed. But they're so yummy, and that description doesn't even do it justice.
I was about to say,
sounds gross.
It sounds kind of like there's too much going on.
Yeah, no, there's not. I was so excited about these chips, and I told the cashier, I'm like, you have Canadian chips, and he just looked at me like I was nuts. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. But apparently, as I looked this up, because I was trying to explain to a few people about these all-dressed chips, they've been around in the U.S. since February.
Oh.
So...
Well,
I'm a little late
to the game.
Yeah, but
I guess it's good that you haven't been finding your sustenance at a gas station.
Right, because I'd be like 20 pounds heavier because I would have been eating all dressed chips for the last 6 months.
So you double fisted it
I did, and I'm not sorry.
Oh, okay.
And I might have bought more at the weekend.
Oh.
To share.
Yes, to share, of course, for sure.
But go out and get yourself some all-dressed chips. You won't be sorry. So good.
Look out for them, I guess. I'm gonna have to go to the MAV or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay. I'm gonna look out for it.
So what'd you eat this week, Winter? Anything noteworthy? Anything earth-shattering?
Oh my, yes. Yes, actually.
Oh?
Yes.
Do tell.
So we have a couple of friends in our neighborhood, and the guy actually came up to my husband and said, hey, can you make this cake? And he sends him a link, and it's this quite extensive, involved cake.
What kind of cake is that?
It's called a dacquoise. I hope I said that correctly.
Dacquoise?
Dacquoise. It's French. And we watched the video together because I'm like, oh, you can't have Lee make it. Lee doesn't have the patience or.
Oh, what's in this French cake?
So it has layers of baked meringue that have kind of ground up almonds in it.
An almond meringue.
Yes. So the tricky thing with the meringue, though, is that it would be really easy to make it too brittle.
Right.
Or
It
too
gets
chewy.
crunchy.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So-
it can get soggy.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of like, you got to get it just right kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have those layers. And then between that is like a layer of German buttercream. So German buttercream, I guess, is, I was not aware of this, but German buttercream has a little bit more of a custard base. So it's kind of, it's not so sugary, I guess. It's more creamy.
Okay.
And then after that, you have layers of a chocolate ganache. This one that he gave us to try, actually. So we kind of said, no, I don't think we can make this cake. We don't have the time right now to go ahead and make it because it's quite involved.
We don't have the time, patience, or
yes,
pastry chefiness.
Yes, exactly. At this present time, like I think it would be a fun challenge to try and make it,
Yeah.
but at this present time, like, oh, we got kind of a lot going on right now. So we decided not to make it. And then she had her birthday because he wanted us to make it for her birthday.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so
Okay.
she had her birthday and she brought over a piece this week to us after her birthday.
Oh, and in your face, you didn't
Yeah.
get some cake, but I'll give you some anyway.
Maybe. No, I think it was actually a really nice gesture because she's like, you guys would appreciate this kind of a thing.
Ooh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it was super nice and it was really pretty. And maybe I'll put a picture on the show notes because it was pretty. He ended up buying it and she's like, this is the best cake I've ever had.
Really?
Yes. And it was delicious. And
Nice.
the one thing I noticed was that because they brought it was in our fridge for a little, like just a couple of hours before we sat down and had it. So the first couple of bites I don't think I was expecting it the way it should have, like it had something different in my head. But I think the key is that you actually have to take the cake out and let it sit for about 30 minutes and it warms up.
Okay, so it needs to warm to room temperature.
Yeah. And I think the custard kind of starts seeping into the meringue and makes it a little softer. And
Versus a really brittle.
brittle. Yeah, exactly.
type
Because it kind of getting like the first couple of bites were pretty crunchy actually.
Okay.
And
yeah.
then after that, after we let it sit for like while we were talking and, chatting, it kind of warmed up and I was like, this is good. I mean, it was really good.
Yum.
It was delicious. So
Adéquat.
yeah, it was lovely. Go check it out, you guys. It's quite involved. If anybody's ever made it, I'd love to hear your experience because I'm a little worried about that meringue step.
Well, I'm looking at this picture and it looks delicious.
Yeah, right?
Delicious. Those layers look good together.
Thanks, friend, for bringing that over and letting us share it. You know who you are.
And now for the main course.
Okay, well, let's get down to our topic at hand.
School lunch. School lunch. We're really talking about school lunch?
Well, yeah, it's back to school time.
It
People
is.
are going back to school for themselves. Their kids are going back to school. People are going to be consuming massive amounts of school lunch.
It's true. So, Sharon, quick question.
Yeah.
Did you eat school lunch? What's your experience?
Well, so I have a mixed experience with school lunch. I ate some school lunch and then I also brown bagged it.
Oh, okay.
I also brought lunch from home.
Excellent. I am a product of the school lunch system
Oh, really?
all the way.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, my family situation kind of lent it to be that way. My dad was out working, so we kind of had to fend for ourselves. And so we qualified for school lunch and we got school lunch. So that's what I did. And everybody thinks school lunch is gross.
Well, I mean, I did an unscientific poll,
And
and I'd say they wouldn't be wrong. I mean, there were some people that complained about bagged milk.
excuse me?
Bagged milk.
What?
In a bag.
That sounds like something from Russia.
Well, this particular friend is a native of my state
Oh.
that he lived in a different part of the state and centralized don't have a lot of dairy farms there.
So
And I'm thinking the bagged milk was more shelf stable.
yeah.
But we pulled up a picture online and he's like, oh yeah, this is what it looked like. And it looks like almost like a baggie, but it's been sealed on both sides. And you stick the straw in the middle of it. So it just lays flat
Oh, that's weird.
on the tray.
That doesn't seem like it would be.
So it's like you have a
well
Capri
designed.
Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not well designed at all. So you have a Capri Sun and instead of sticking the straw in the top of the pouch, you stick it in the middle of the pouch.
That's so weird. Sorry, that's
And it lays like horizontally.
That's weird.
It's weird.
That is kind of funny.
I also got complaints of the wettest fries in the land.
Well, I mean, yeah, they can be a little on the soggy side.
And what the bleep is beef stroganoff. On the same lines, what the bleep is Salisbury steak.
Oh, okay. Well, so I had a lovely experience, and I know everybody's going to be like, Winter, you're so backwards. But it was kind of one of those things. Once again, you know how I grew up eating only stir fries, basically.
Oh, right.
So like to go to have school lunch, that was so different. Like
It was a novelty.
it was a novelty. So I thought it was interesting and different and different from what I ate. So I thought it was fine. Like I thought it was great because it was food and I didn't know any different.
What were your favorite things?
I want to say that the spaghetti was great.
Okay.
So noodles that I didn't eat with chopsticks. Just saying.
Noodles that you can eat with a fork.
Yeah. And really, honestly, I loved just getting the carton of milk.
Oh, I did love the milk cartons.
Yeah. There's something kind of fun about that. So, yeah. So I can't think of anything that jumps out at me, but I just remember like I had a good experience, but maybe I'm looking at it from a different point of view than everybody else. So, but Sharon, I want to tell you a little, because when we started researching this, I got really excited because Sharon will attest that I started texting her. Like,
Yes.
Sharon, have you started looking into this? This is so amazing. How school lunch came about.
How did it come about?
So back in the 19th century, there was no school lunch. There's nothing.
Yeah,
So
no.
kids would actually either go home for lunch or they would go hungry,
Right.
or their parents would give them like a penny so they could go buy some food. And
Where would they buy food?
so just on the street and whatever was available. And this is one little bit of trivia that I really liked was that there was kind of this panic at one point in time, this moral panic that kids were buying pickles.
Moral panic.
There was
over pickles.
a moral panic over pickles because they were considered a junk food at the time.
Oh my gosh.
And these kids that's what they would get is pickles.
pickles.
Of all things, right? Isn't that so funny?
So they'd take their pennies and they would go buy pickles.
Yep, exactly.
A penny pickle.
Yep, a penny pickle. And so you start seeing people like, okay, we need to maybe start talking about nutrition, and because they were noticing that some of these kids were malnourished. And so they were starting to look at like home economics and nutrition and what we need to do and how those school lunches would need to, like, these kids would need to be fed. And so they were kind of, school lunches at the time were volunteer programs where things would be brought in and these kids would be fed maybe like a sandwich and some milk.
Oh. Okay.
And a lot of times they didn't have a room. It was like
Right.
sit at your desk in the classroom.
Right.
And
It's
have
like
a
schoolhouse type thing.
Yeah. So it was really interesting that they had these, like, they started using propaganda almost. I don't know how to explain.
Propaganda
Yeah.
for school lunch.
Yeah. So I found a poster of Shirley Temple likes milk.
No way.
Yeah. So they would send them into the school and they would put them up on these in the classrooms, and eventually they had them up and stuff like that. And eventually nutritionists sued that this was like, hey, you're kind of using some of these famous people to do things to get kids to consume certain products. And you can see that happening in the future, like with commercials and different things,
Oh, yeah,
obviously,
that's
as we get.
Total marketing right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then obviously with the Great Depression, there was a huge problem. There was a lot of kids that were going hungry. So the federal government was basically the way they figured out how to solve this problem, sort of, quote unquote, solve the problem, was that they paid a lot of the farmers, because we were still agricultural at this time, right?
Right.
Paid the farmers for some of their surplus goods.
Okay.
And they would use those surplus food, produce, and that type of thing to feed the kids.
So that was like the first cafeteria school lunches were from farmers?
Kind of. Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of. It's kind of, killing two birds with one stone. Helping the farmers out, helping the kids out.
That's pretty cool.
Right? So you can kind of imagine that this might be a little bit of a problem, because what if you're like, well, we got a lot of this certain thing.
Yeah, we have a bumper crop of turnips.
Onions.
Oh.
Olives.
Those aren't really main course foods.
No. No. So they were kind of like, oh, the USDA is finally starting to jump in and like, you know what? This whole like helping the farmers out may not be like, we might have to actually focus on actually like feeding the kids properly.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the idea was good.
Because the USDA had kids in school who were complaining that all they had to eat were onions.
Yeah. And man, those kids stunk.
Aww.
No, just kidding. So we get into the 1940s, right? And World War II is upon us. And that's when they start like, okay, it needs to be, and FDR actually said, food and nutrition would be at least as important as metals and munitions. So they started getting some of these ration coupons so that kids could get good food as well at that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and you can imagine if kids are being recruited into the army and to fight the war, they needed to make sure that these kids were kind of healthy. And they were noticing that a lot of these kids were malnourished. And so that's why there was much a greater need to make sure that kids, young adults, were getting the nutrition they needed. And so they hired Margaret Mead, and she actually came up with some guidance and about what kind of the recommended daily allowances.
Oh.
You've heard of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she came up with those, how many calories kids should partake of. And they also tried to come up with foods that were, I actually kind of thought it was interesting that they wanted to, because there's a very big melting pot right now in this time. They wanted to introduce kind of more ethnic foods, which I thought was interesting. But even though they said, we're going to push this ethnic food or have a larger appeal, they still needed the food to be fairly, how do you say?
Mainstream
and maybe a little bland.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because like some cultures have very strong flavors.
Sure. American food generally, when you talk, especially like in historic terms, like regional cuisines and things like that, is generally bland.
Yeah. So
like a lot of recipes from your grandmother's time and things like that are generally rather bland.
Yeah. So and unfortunately, I think that general idea that Margaret Mead came up with kind of stuck around, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, the Salisbury steak and the beef stroganoff and some of those things. Yeah, they're kind of
pretty bland. So one thing I thought was really interesting, though, kind of the way she set up these lunchrooms, though, was that because there's kind of, when you go into a classroom, into a lunchroom, it's chaotic, right?
Sure. Yeah.
However, the way they wanted to set these lunchrooms up is that they would have mock family units sit in tables. Yeah. So there would be like a leader and like a host and a hostess that would be in charge of that table, and you would sit around and talk. And it was so interesting. Like they wanted to kind of reinforce this
eating
almost
together.
Yeah. Almost this family unit.
Okay.
When they had lunch.
Which is really cool, because like you hear now that it's so important to at least eat one meal together as a family a day. No matter if it's dinner, breakfast, whatever. Try to eat a meal a day together.
I just thought that was kind of cool that they were still trying to do that as well.
That's cool.
So finally, in 1946, Harry Truman signed the National School Lunch Act into law. And so they it gave the USDA control over the National School Lunch Program. And so they would actually try and divvy up some of that financial burden for the school with the state so that they could actually do it viably with regards to money. So
Nice. Gotta
Yes.
love that, Harry Truman.
I know. Harry Truman. So then as we get into a little bit later into the 80s, the Reagan administration. So it's going along. However, so Dwight Eisenhower and that type of thing, it's still, the program is there, but it's still not really helping like a lot of the poor kids and some of those rural areas. So we're running into our commercial aspects of things where like lunch boxes are starting to get commercialized and I think Sharon's going to talk a little bit more about that, but how there's a push from brands and other places to feed the kids, right? In a certain way. So school lunch industry is starting to actually become a booming type of a business because they have these cafeterias and that type of thing that are making these foods and bringing those in. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from. And then as we get into the 1980s, when Reagan's in office, they were really concerned about the bottom line. So they were cutting stuff and they were deeming certain things nutritionally okay, according.
Oh, but they weren't?
Well, so this is when candy was allowed to be in schools.
Candy?
Yeah. They needed to have a minimum nutritional value. And at this time, the USDA, this was really sad actually. When I read this, one USDA official said, if a candy bar has only one nut in it, we feel it is above our minimum nutrient standards.
Oh my gosh.
So it's kind of, yeah, it really.
One nut is better than no nuts?
I guess so.
Even though that nut is in a Snickers bar?
Yeah, so crazy. And it's kind of at this time where infamously ketchup, I think maybe you've heard this before. Ketchup. Yes, ketchup. I always like.
Our friend the condiment.
Yes, our friend the condiment was allowed to count as a serving of vegetables. And you know what? Like think about it. Ketchup, like a little packet of ketchup or a little.
For you conspiracy theorists out there, this is why you don't let the government regulate your food.
Yeah. So they basically came out and said that ketchup was allowed to be.
So ketchup's a vegetable.
Back in the day, just because of the way they were trying to save money, and this was taking up a lot of money. And so, so it was 1981 that the USDA came out and said that ketchup was allowed to count as a vegetable. So, gosh, and then we get into the 90s, and I grew up I went to school in the 90s, and you know what, everybody? That's when you started seeing all these fast food restaurants pop up because they started to they go ahead. The federal government just let them go in and say, you know what, you can go ahead and
peddle to the masses of children.
Yeah, kind of.
Who are in growth spurts and will eat your French fries.
Yeah. And heck, school vending machines. Do you remember having school vending machines?
So we had one in my school.
Oh, really?
My school was very tiny and not really up with the times.
We had quite a few, and I bet you, looking at some of the stats on what some of these schools made, I bet our school made a pretty penny by having those vending machines. Yeah, well, the
vending machines provide the school with money.
Yeah,
the school takes a stipend from the vending. I'm not sure how much, but yeah,
great, I guess. I guess if it helps the school,
sure.
Yes, but it's kind of at a cost, right?
It's a cost to, the obesity epidemic.
Yes.
And then we have, people like Michelle Obama come in.
And Jamie Oliver. And that's actually a new kind of movement that's come in the early 2000s where these kind of celebrities almost, I want to say.
Sure, like celebrity chefs and things like that take an interest.
They're really trying to bring good food that tastes good, that looks appetizing, I guess.
Appetizing, nutritious food.
And
instead of the what the bleep is the
yes,
Salisbury steak.
So was it, I just thought reading through this, where it came from, and it just kind of grew out of the need to have food to keep these kids nutritionally sound and probably able to concentrate a little bit better if they had food.
Oh, sure.
But then also realizing, gosh, there are limitations to being able to feed people, masses of people. If you think about it, there's a lot of people going to school.
Yeah.
So I can see where the government trips over things and has difficulty with it. So, but I thought that was so interesting, that the history of school lunch, just crazy, crazy stuff. On a really quick side note.
Oh, yeah.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how, have you heard the whole thing of tomatoes being, are they fruits or vegetables, right?
Sure.
Have you heard
it's
that?
technically a fruit, but not really because it's a vegetable.
Yes. Okay. So botanically speaking, I guess. So any seed-bearing structure formed from an angiosperm, so that flowering plant's ovary is a fruit. So a tomato contains those seeds. And so it is a fruit, botanically speaking. However, back in this, I thought this was so interesting. The Supreme Court, the High Court,
The High Court of the land.
the
yes.
High Court of the land actually issued a ruling in 1893. 1893 of all things.
Okay, a long time ago.
Yeah. Actually, let me back up. So the members of the Nix family they had a case that they brought to the High Court of the land against Edward Hedden. He's a collector at the Port of New York, because they wanted to recover some fees that they spent transporting tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
So they were suing under the tariff of 1883, which required, I know, right?
Whatever that was.
I know, exactly. Can you remember that from AP history, everybody? No, I can't. So the tariff of 1883, it required taxes on imported vegetables, but not fruits.
And they tax their tomatoes?
Yep. And they're like, hey, this is technically a fruit. Yo, what are you doing? So even though botanically speaking, it is a fruit, the Supreme Court actually, general and culinary classifications consider it a vegetable. And that's what they ruled. So
the Supreme Court in 1890 what?
1893.
1893 ruled that a tomato is a vegetable.
Yep, because generally everybody considers it a vegetable.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, there you go.
So, I'm not
It's
saying
the law.
it's not
Tomatoes,
ketchup.
Tomatoes are vegetables. It's the law.
Yeah. So that was just a side note. I wanted to bring that up because we talked about ketchup being considered a vegetable, a serving a vegetable.
Yeah. If the Supreme Court says tomatoes are vegetables, then ketchup's a vegetable.
Yeah. Well, and there was kind of like,
I like the logic.
there's
I get it.
there's a lot of like debate. It would be, if you guys are very interested, there's a lot of like kind of debate about whether or not pizza is a vegetable. And no,
oh my gosh,
they did not say, the USDA did not say that pizza is a vegetable. They're just kind of talking about the tomato paste that is on the tomato sauce that's on there. So pizza is not a vegetable, everybody.
Yet.
Sharon, Michelle Obama's going to have words with you.
Well, she only has a couple months left to do it.
True. Very true. Okay, well, so if you didn't eat school lunch really that much, you brown bagged it?
Yeah, I mean, it depended on the year. There were some years that I ate it and some years that I didn't. And I went to a couple different elementary schools. I went to 2 different elementary schools and 2 different junior highs. And just when high school, and like even in high school, there was like one year I would eat it in the cafeteria and the next year I wouldn't. It just kind of depended on what I felt like and our schedules too, because my mom went back to school when I was in school too.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it just depended. My mom, if I brown bagged it, I would take my lunch in a lunchbox and she would give me, usually she'd tape a dime or a quarter, however much it costs, I don't remember, to the inside of my lunchbox, and I would buy milk at school.
Oh.
And then I complained about having to drink milk at school.
You did?
When I got a little bit older, I would complain about it, and so then she started packing like a juice box or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Lunchbox though?
yeah, lunchbox.
Can we talk about lunchboxes?
Yeah.
Because I think they're great and I never really got to carry one.
Oh,
I know. Sad.
I had a Pigs in Space lunchbox.
What?
Do you remember the Muppet Show?
Yes.
Do you remember the segment on the Muppet Show?
Yes.
Pigs in Space.
Yes.
And they would say, Pigs in Space.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had a Pigs in Space lunchbox.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, this is my favorite. And my friend a couple years ago knows that I like the Muppet Show a lot. And so she bought me a Muppet Show lunchbox for my birthday. So now I take that to work sometimes.
That's awesome.
But my brother, so as I was researching lunchboxes and kind of when they came out, and I mean, they kind of became mainstream in the 50s, I guess.
Yeah.
Like everybody had lunch boxes. But I was looking on eBay and oh my gosh, they're so expensive for these vintage lunch boxes.
Really?
I should have saved mine because
Like, how much are we talking about?
the most expensive one I found, and I didn't really look all that hard, so there's probably something that's a little bit more, but $1,200.
Oh, no way.
And it was used. It wasn't even brand new. It wasn't like brand new. I've never used it before. It was totally used.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a Jetsons lunchbox.
Oh, well, Jetsons is cool.
Yeah, Jetsons with the thermos from 1963.
Oh my gosh.
So when it first came out. I saw Brady Bunch lunchboxes, Partridge Family. I saw my brother's old lunchbox online. I
What
thought
one
about
was
getting
it?
for him. It was Emergency.
Emergency.
So in the 70s, he is older than I am, I will just point out. But in the 70s, there was this TV show called Emergency.
Oh.
And there was like, kind of took place, it was sort of like a predecessor to something like ER or whatever, like one of those medical shows. But it had like firefighters and ambulance and that kind of stuff. So yeah, he had an emergency lunchbox.
Whoa.
It's only going for like $30 or something like that. So snatch it up while you can.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw tons that like my friends had. I saw like Peanuts ones and
Oh, I love
Gremlins,
Peanuts.
like tons from like the 80s, the Holly Hobby and stuff like that. And then like some 90s fun.
Saved by the Bell?
Yes.
Oh,
Saved by the Bell.
yeah.
I saw, what else did I see? Tons of the old cartoons.
My Little Pony Action.
My Little Pony, the Pokemon, all of that kind of stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah. Cool kid lunchboxes.
So I assume that that's just a branding scheme.
Oh yeah, I mean some of it, like there were celebrity lunchboxes. I saw sports teams lunchboxes. There was like a Boston Bruins lunchbox that was going for $800.
Oh my goodness.
It was cool looking though.
Oh my goodness.
So cool.
So I was jealous of people that had lunchboxes. I'm sure that I guess maybe I didn't pay that much attention to them, but I always am like, I kind of want a lunchbox. But I never really paid attention to what was popular.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of a free for all. I mean, it's whatever superheroes you liked at the time or whatever you were watching on TV or celebrity endorsements, things like that. Yeah, tons of cool stuff. But yeah, the lunchboxes though have evolved a little bit.
They have.
And now what you see is the insulated lunch bags mostly that have like a little insert that can
Has
be
an ice
frozen
pack or whatever.
an ice
Yep.
pack insert so you can keep your food cold, so you don't necessarily have to put it in a fridge, because when kids are at school they can't really do that, or even if you're at work you don't necessarily have to put your food in the fridge.
Right.
So that's kind of handy. Another thing that's really caught on, and I think everybody's probably seen them, is the bento boxes.
Yes. For those who don't know what a bento box is, what is a bento box, Sharon?
So they originated in Japan, and they're these cute boxes that are just really sleek, and they don't really look like anything. They look almost like a gift box.
Yeah.
And you open it up, and inside it's all compartmentalized, and so there's these little squares, if you will. It's all separated. Looks like a tray or something that's all separated out for you to put your food in. And so in Japan, like that's what they would put sushi and different dried meats and fish and eggs and different types of things like that in there. And
If you're the type of person that likes to keep everything separated, this is for you. I'm just saying.
oh, it totally is.
They're so pretty. I just think
They
Yeah.
are gorgeous.
It's
Well, and the
sleek and
boxes
pretty.
look pretty.
Mhm.
But bento has been around for years and years.
Yeah.
And the fascination with bento has seeped into American culture even, and different places.
Like where?
Well, I was really surprised to learn that the designer of the Lenovo ThinkPad, which when it originally came out was made by IBM, but Lenovo bought them out. And I thought this was interesting because I have some coworkers who use a Lenovo ThinkPad.
Mm-hmm.
So the designer of that, Richard Sapper, based the design for the ThinkPad off of a bento box.
Really?
Because the concept of the traditional Japanese bento lunchbox is that it reveals its nature only after it's been opened.
Oh.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the ThinkPads. While they are very sleek, they don't look like your typical laptop.
Right.
They kind of have squared off edges, and the design, it looks really fun, but it doesn't look like your typical MacBook or Dell type of laptop.
Right. So when you open that up, that's when all the surprises happen.
Yeah,
That's basically
you're like,
what he was saying.
It's really a computer.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So when you open a bento box, you're like, I have no idea what this is. It looks like a gift box.
Yeah.
Then you open it up and you're like, oh, it's food.
Yay!
And the bento, I guess, bento culture is kind of evolved in that homemakers have chosen bento boxes as a means for a venue of creativity, if you will.
Oh.
So they make them look like different things. So they stylize the food that's inside the bento box.
Yes.
So you have a sandwich that looks like a cat, or a rice dish that looks like it's got a panda face on it, or something like that.
Wait, who are these people?
I know, right? So
Are they like really like people that are staying at home and they are making
I'm
their
not
kids
sure
lunches
if
or
they're
what?
home moms or what, but I know that originated. Again, I am no expert in Japanese culture at all. Just know I'm not. So that's my disclaimer. But from what I've looked up and read and researched, so it started with moms who wanted to expand their kids' eating habits. They wanted to broaden their food horizons and get them to eat different and interesting food instead of their usual kind of stuff. So they wanted them to develop good eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order for them to do that, I think they thought that kids are typically picky, and so they made the food cute.
Which I get that.
So you would want to eat the cat or the panda or the cute giraffe or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's evolved into something even bigger where there's bento box competitions.
What?
Yeah. So there's international, you can look it on Facebook, tons of different things, that there's international competitions for bento boxes.
Okay. If anybody has entered a bento box competition, please email us. We would
we want to hear about your experience.
We want to hear about that, and we may just interview you. I'm just saying that's cool.
Yeah. So it's really neat. It's a cool...
super creative.
Yeah, it's a cool way to be artistic with your food even. Like, it's just neat. But I was also researching further, and there can be a dark side to the bento culture.
What?
And not everybody is in agreement, but people have said that it has been their experience that when their parents haven't been into being creative with the bento box, they may have been bullied.
Oh.
Bento bullying. Because bento boxes are kind of a status symbol a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so if your mom didn't make a cool
Panda.
scene or shape or animal or anything like that and just kind of gave you, a sandwich or some eggs or something like that to eat for lunch, people thought that there was something wrong at home, or they thought that maybe you were poor, even if you weren't, because your parents are busy people and they're not going to get caught up in that.
Yeah. What if they don't got no time for that?
It's gotten to a point in some places where it's a status thing, and it's kind of like a keeping up with the Joneses, but bento boxes and lunches.
Oh, I guess that could kind of be the same thing with lunch boxes back in the day when you were cool.
Yeah, for sure. Like, everybody got new lunch boxes at the beginning of the school year. Even if your old lunch box was still perfectly good.
Fine.
Yeah. But some of us kept toting around our pigs in space for quite a while.
Well, you know what?
But I was proud because it was pretty cool.
I was like, it's pretty cool. I agree. The Muppets? Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, school lunch. Brown bagging it can be good, but it can also be bad.
What do you
with
mean?
this bento bullying culture.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yes,
but
I
also,
agree.
if you pack the wrong thing, that's bad too.
Yeah.
My mom kind of learned her lesson when I was younger. So this was before I started school, but I remember this vividly. I was in preschool. So I would eat lunch at home,
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to eat there. But my mom, she worked from home. And so she would work in a different room though. She would make me lunch and then leave me there. And then she'd be working from a different room.
Okay.
She'd be writing. It was pretty time consuming. And so I was kind of left to my own devices. Since she was busy, and my dad worked as well, but she would have him run errands for her sometimes. And she would send him to the store and she would just give him a general idea of, we need something for dinner or the kids need something for lunch. And so he would come home with just what he liked.
Yeah.
And my dad likes interesting things.
Dads have sometimes different tastes. Just putting it out there.
I'm just going to say he likes potted meat. He's a fan of the deviled ham. Spam, Vienna sausage, sardines.
Okay, everybody, confession time. I like
Kipper
spam.
Snacks.
I like spam. Sharon's looking at me like
spam might be another episode. I do have some spam stories. I'm not opposed to spam.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I grew up on spam, you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. So my dad likes not the same stuff as 4-year-old me likes. I'm just gonna say that. One of my dad's favorites was bologna.
Yeah, bologna. Mm-hmm.
Still to this day, I will not eat it.
Because he packed it for you?
Well, because my mom used to make it for me.
Oh.
Being 4-year-old me, I did not like condiments.
Yeah.
So I had 2 pieces of white bread with a piece of bologna
and that was
in the middle. Yeah. And then I had like my other things that I ate for lunch. I don't know, carrots or something, and my drink. And so I would eat the bread, which wasn't always good depending on how long I let the bologna sit on the bread. So I would eat the bread and then I would throw the bologna away. Well, my mom eventually caught on to that, so that I had to start hiding the bologna in the trash.
Yeah, you got to be sneaky about that kind of thing if you're going to do it.
Totally. Well, then she started catching on to that. And so
that's perfectly good meat, Sharon.
Yeah. So then she would make me another sandwich and make me eat that sandwich. It was gross. That was the punishment. Like, she would still make another one. Like, we somehow had this endless supply of bologna when I was a kid. So after a while, I complained about it so much. So my mom was like, all right, we won't buy any bologna, but we still have to use up the stuff that we have. So I don't know how long this went on, but for a while, the way that I would get rid of the bologna was I would be eating in the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go into the adjacent living room, which was like our nice room. As kids, we didn't play in there. It was like the clean room. You didn't wear shoes in there. Like, only company came over and sat in the living room. It was very
special.
Yes, it was a special room. And my parents had these gorgeous floor-to-ceiling bookcases. Gorgeous. In one end of the room. And in this end of the room that the floor-to-ceiling bookcases were, there was this little spot by the wall because they didn't extend all the way over.
Oh, no.
But you couldn't really fit in that spot. But 4-year-old me could fit in that spot.
Totally could.
Yeah. So I would take my bologna and I'd go over to that spot. And then I would work my arm behind the floor-to-ceiling bookcases. And I would fling the bologna behind them.
Oh, my goodness.
So I did that every day.
Oh my goodness, how much bologna was there?
So when we moved from that house, I was 12 and a half. So this is 4-year-old me, mind you. So when we moved from that house, I was 12 and a half. And we found several
dried
things of these shriveled up rock hard discs that my dad thought were those little things that you slip underneath furniture to move them across carpet. Yeah. That's what he thought they were. And then my mom's like, well, we don't have those.
I don't know.
That's not what that is. So then he thought they were game pieces.
Because there were that many of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he put them in a plastic baggie, like a Ziploc kind of thing.
Oh my gosh.
And left them out for us. And he asked us, he was like, do you guys know what these are? And I was like, where'd you get those? I have no idea what that is. And then he told me where he got them. And I was like, oh
no.
I think they're mine. And that's all I said. And I took them and I threw them away.
Did you ever tell your parents?
Not until I was an adult. So that bologna, it never stunk. Like, it didn't decompose or mold. There was no mold.
Dried.
It just dried up. And it shrank quite a bit. So, your bologna slice, it shrank to about 3 inches in diameter-ish,
Oh my gosh.
maybe 4. Yeah.
That is awesome.
And gross.
And gross.
That's why I won't
but
eat bologna.
awesome. So the moral of the story is,
If you're going to pack your kid a lunch, make sure they want to eat it.
yeah, and it really does have a lot to do with like, it's got to taste good. It's probably got to be good, nutritious, right? I mean, we got to make sure.
I mean, yeah, your kid can't have their own way all the time.
No,
but
no.
like, have it be of nutritional value. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Not just some ketchup.
or bologna.
Yeah, so I think that there's certain keys to packing a good lunch.
Yeah.
You've got to decide on what your main course is going to be. Is it a soup in a thermos, maybe? Is it a salad, a sandwich? Maybe it's like some pita chips and hummus. Like, you have a main course. My favorite when I was a kid was like turkey or roast beef or even like peanut butter and jelly. I don't know. I had a favorite jelly. Mine was red plum. But any jelly will do.
Any jelly will do.
Yeah. So then you pick like fruits and veggies.
Yep, because
It's always nice to have like a good side dish.
Yeah.
Maybe some carrots, celery, apples, a tomato.
It's a vegetable and a fruit, everybody.
Yeah. It's like all in one. So pick a side dish, pick something good. And then the treat. You always have to have a treat.
You have to have a treat?
I think so. I mean, if you're packing your own lunch and everything else is pretty nutritious, this is going to go far.
Yeah.
And it's not really going to wreck your diet, I don't think. I mean, if you're packing it, whether it's for your kid for school or for you for work, I don't think it's going to wreck your diet. My favorite when I was a kid, I loved fruit snacks.
Oh, yeah.
Those Gushers. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah. Gushers.
Yeah. They had like the liquid filling
Yep.
inside. I don't know what that was. It was gross.
It was
but
gross, but
good.
it was the best thing ever.
Yeah. Or the snack pack puddings.
Oh, I love the snack pack pudding. I never got them, but they were a treat when I did.
Yeah. Or Hostess.
Yeah.
The Twinkie, the Chocodile.
The Chocodile.
Do you remember the Chocodile?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was more of a, the Hostess cupcake fan.
I love the cupcakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pick a treat, pick a drink. Your drink doesn't have to be fancy. It could be water in your Nalgene.
Yeah. And you know what?
It could be milk.
They actually recommend just sticking with water because you should try and get your calories from food.
From food versus
not from like
a drink.
A sugary drink or something like
that.
Yeah.
Don't pack a soda.
Yeah. That's probably not a good idea.
Pack your own water bottle. Be environmentally conscious.
Yeah.
If you've got a lunchbox, have your own thermos with it.
Yeah.
Something cool.
It can actually be quite fun having lunch, don't you think?
I think so too.
I think we wrapped it up pretty good.
Yeah. School lunch, everybody. Happy back to school.
Yay! Our podcast is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsors. So our first sponsor today is Real Salt.
I love Real Salt.
Sharon, what is Real Salt?
Real Salt's made by the Redmond Company, and they are from Redmond, Utah, which is like central Utah area. And there's a mine.
What?
Yes. And it's salt from an ancient seabed.
That is so cool.
And they basically just scrape the mine and there's your salt. And it actually is this beautiful pink salt.
Yeah, it's just
the
pretty.
Rock crystals in there are this gorgeous pink color. More pink, I would say, than like your Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
And more flavorful. The other day I was at work and I mistakenly was in a hurry and I salted my food with table salt.
Oh.
And I was so disappointed because I had already salted it. And I was like, what was I thinking once I took a bite? Because I'm going to say, once you go Real Salt, you don't go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our friends at Chili Beak, they use Real Salt.
Yeah, they
in
do.
Their chili oil.
And it's so flavorful. It just makes their chili oil so flavorful.
It does. The mineral content is really high and it's tasty. It's super tasty. It's unlike any other salt you'll ever try.
Yeah, I totally keep a little shaker in my lunch bag just in case.
Don't get in a hurry.
Don't get in a hurry.
Yeah, I have a shaker at my desk. I got in a hurry and I was sad.
They have been an awesome sponsor to work with.
Yeah, we're really proud to partner with Real Salt. And all of our listeners can go to realsalt.com and get 15% off their order. if you use the discount code HUNGRY15.
Sweet. That's
So
awesome.
You get 15% off at realsalt.com.
You can get salt there, but there's a lot of other cool products that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
So
They've
go-
got some personal care products. They've got other seasonings that are really
yes.
yummy.
Popcorn salt.
The popcorn salt. It's like this pulverized salt that goes really good on your homemade popcorn.
Yeah.
But they also have like
They have
garlic seasoning. And
the garlic
some-
seasoning is delicious.
Yeah, some other really good stuff.
So you need to check them out. So, and they were giving us 15% off. You guys, that's awesome.
Take it.
Thank you, Real Salt. And our next sponsor is V Chocolates. V is in like victory.
Victory.
So,
Chocolates.
Sharon, have you had their caramels?
Yes, and they're so good.
They're so creamy and soft. They're like, I feel like they're the perfect consistency for a caramel.
Yes,
That's my personal opinion.
they're so good.
They're so good. I just discovered something that they also sell.
Oh,
Chocolate frogs.
frogs.
Yeah, like kind of like Harry Potter. Right? I don't think they're animated like the ones that are in Harry Potter, but they have these chocolate frogs that are in this
But
adorable
I'll bet
little.
they're just as good.
They're so cute, and yes, they are. They are so pretty, and they also have turtles. And you think of turtles, and they're there. The
caramel and the cashew
Yeah.
and or
other
the pecan.
pecan, yeah. But this one is actually shaped as a turtle too.
Ooh,
So it's
turtle
cute.
turtles.
Yep, exactly. They just have some pretty stuff. I just discovered their caramel apples as well, and you guys were coming into caramel apple season.
Yes, we are.
You might want to get one for yourself. Treat yourself.
treat yourself.
And it's kind of nice because V Chocolates has given us a great discount. So if you go to their website, vchocolates.com, and you enter into their discount code section, put give love, GIVELOVE, all uppercase, you're going to get 10% off. That's pretty awesome. Because 10% off of chocolate, you're a winner.
And they'll mail your order anywhere.
I know, it's awesome. So thank you so much, V Chocolates, for being our awesome sponsor today.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is the segment of our program where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. Email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, the food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
So what's this week's question, Winter?
Okay, this one's a good one, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I can kind of relate to this. So let me read it to you. Okay, it says, Dear Hungry Squared Duo, my husband has had his Nalgene bottle for years. It is covered in stickers from all the places he's visited or hiked and the products he uses. He takes it everywhere with him.
Sweet.
He loves this thing, is what this writer says. The problem is he hardly washes it.
Oh,
He kind of rinses it out sometimes, but that's it. And he won't let me
Oh.
wash it in the dishwasher because he doesn't want to ruin his stickers.
oh.
It's okay, this is the last part. It's gross. What can I do? What should I do? Help. Married to a dirty hippie.
Oh, yes, you are married to a dirty hippie. I love the Nalgene bottles.
Me too. I have one.
They're so great.
I love them because I do have a ton of stickers on mine.
I have a couple. One has them, one doesn't.
Okay. So do you wash yours out?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I buy the wide mouth ones, so they're easier to wash.
oh, okay.
My first Nalgene bottle that I bought was one of those narrow neck ones. And while they're easier to drink out of, they're a pain to clean.
Yeah.
So I get the wide mouth ones and then I have a little insert so it doesn't
Slash.
splash all over
Yeah.
the place.
So, but how can we help our listener? Because that's gross.
Well, how do you take care of your Nalgene bottle?
So I generally just have water in it, of course.
Mhm.
And then I will rinse it out, like if I'm not using it tons, but I'll actually stick it in the dishwasher. Like,
with stickers on.
yeah. And
Stickers and all.
they generally do okay,
Nice.
listener.
So I don't have a dishwasher in my apartment.
Okay.
So I hand wash mine, and the wide mouth bottles are easier
Great
to hand
for
wash.
that. Mm-hmm.
I also have a bottle brush, so I like that. So yeah, I mean, my stickers are intact. I drink different things out of my Nalgene bottle, and so kind of depends. Like if it's just water, I'll go a few days. It's fine. Maybe up to a week. Don't judge me. But I'll
judgment.
put tea in there. So yeah, mostly
You're
I
going to
drink-
have to clean that out.
Oh yeah, because it'll taste like tea for a while if
Yeah.
you don't. And that's really gross.
So
I had a peach tea flavored water for a few days once, and it was not pleasant.
Everything was peachy.
Yeah, which sounds good,
But-
and that sounds a lot better than it actually was. So yeah, you got to rinse that out.
So this listener, I guess the question is whether or not this person actually uses water only,
Oh yeah.
or if there's other liquids that they put into it.
Mm-hmm.
And my first reaction was like, well, do you drink out of it, married to a dirty hippie?
Yeah.
Because if you're not drinking out of it, then I kind of think it's like, well, let him do his thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's some people, especially with the stickers and everything on it, it's kind of a form of identity.
Yeah.
You know, it's where you've been, it's things you like, it's what you do, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
you take it to work and it's maybe the only decorated thing that you have, your cubicle or your desk. It's perfectly empty, but you've got this super sweet water bottle
That has so much personality. And like, what if that's his topic? Like his way of starting conversations with people.
Yeah, it's a conversation piece.
So a part of me is like, just let him be. Because, it's probably kind of nasty. And you know what? Maybe you can also be
super
sneaky.
gross.
You can be sneaky.
Oh,
You don't have to stick it in the dishwasher. You can do a quick hand wash.
yeah, just get some hot water and some soap and shake it around.
Yeah. And then like do a good quick like rinse, like wipe down of the rims.
Yeah.
And that's probably pretty good. And you can kind of be sneaky about that.
Yeah, I know I have to clean my lid and rim a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if I've been wearing a lot of like lip gloss or lipstick or something like that.
Yeah.
But
I think she can just be sneaky.
yeah, definitely don't get rid of it or anything because
That's
this
not
water
cool.
bottle is not affecting you that much.
Yeah. It's
If
not
you feel
that
like
big.
it is, I don't know. You could be sneaky or just rest assured that he's at this point probably drinking something like penicillin water because it's moldy. But as long as he brushes his teeth before he kisses you, like, who cares?
Okay, we're out. That's it. It's like I think we answered it.
Mic drop, right?
Mic drop, right?
Penicillin water. You heard it here first.
Oh,
I don't think that's a thing.
I don't think that's a thing either. I hope it's not a thing.
Be sneaky. Wash his bottle for him. It's just a water bottle.
Yeah. And
Don't let a water bottle come in between your relationship.
don't do it because it's not. It's just a thing. Okay.
It's not worth it.
And love your husband. Love that dirty hippie.
And have fun with that. If that's his only, if that's the worst thing, there's so many other worse things.
Yeah. You're okay.
So
You're okay. Let this one.
be sneaky. Just be sneaky.
Yeah. And he may not notice. He'll be like, oh, this water tastes really different today.
It tastes really fresh.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah.
Be sneaky. You go, girl.
Thanks for joining us on our show today. You can leave us a rating and review on iTunes, and we would love you forever because that'll help other people discover our podcast.
Oh my gosh, yes. And you guys subscribe to our podcast because then it just automatically comes every Monday.
And it automatically downloads, and it's awesome.
It's totally awesome.
Share our podcast with your food nerdy friends and family, and you can also follow us on Instagram at hungrysquared.com.
So, we love you. Please join us next week for our next episode of Food Nerdery.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye!
Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.